It all begins in water. Here we are, we're wrapping up all these readings on baptism. Last week, Deacon Bill talked about the feast of the baptism of the Lord. And he talked about how the Spirit of the Lord electrified the water. It's a little scary, how it electrified the water, gave power to the water. And here in this day, what we see is that the public ministry of Jesus begins in water. We're in a drought. And we know that our food depends upon water. We know that so much depends on water. But we also know the disaster that can happen when there's too much water. The power of water. The power of water to give life. The power of water to nurture and beautify our world. The power of water to wash away all that we human beings try to do. It all begins in water. Stop and think of the opening verses of the book of Genesis. When God was beginning to create the heavens and the earth, the Spirit of God hovered over the waters. Hovered over the waters. And we hear it again in today's gospel when John said, when you see the one on whom the Spirit rests, no longer hovering, but rests, that's the one that you follow. And we hear the phrase that you and I repeat every time we come to Eucharist. Behold the Lamb of God. Behold him who takes away the sins of the world. We say that, and it all begins in water. You're going to prepare a meal at home. First thing you do is draw a pot of water for rice, for pasta, for potatoes, whatever it might be. Making soup, water. Bath, water. All kinds of things we use water for. It can become for us such a powerful daily symbol. Yes, most of us come to Mass once a week. Some come more often, but most of us come once a week. We're familiar with the holy water fonts that are by the doors as we walk in. And sometimes without thinking, we just kind of reach out. Reach out, dip our fingers in, make the sign of the cross. Or maybe we've even gotten out of that practice. The church where I grew up, the baptismal font was right there at the front door. And the first thing everybody did as they walked in was dip their hands in the baptismal font and make the sign of the cross. That powerful reminder that our life begins in water. That experience of being baptized. Whether you just had a little bit of water poured on your head or whether you were immersed. It began in water. And those of you who cook at home, every time you draw water to feed your family, it's once again going back to that baptismal experience. You carry out your ministry of proclaiming the good news of the presence of the kingdom in the way you care for and feed your family. Drawing water for a child's bath. It's way, once again, in a very visible and real way, a tangible way. Coming back to that experience of baptism. We use it on the day of baptism. We use it in funerals. One of the first things we do as the body is brought through the doors of the church is sprinkle it with water. One of the last things we do as the body is laid in the earth is sprinkle it with water. It begins and ends in water. Water is such a powerful symbol because baptism is such a powerful experience. It shapes our life. It molds our life. It's the root of our faith. It's the thing that permeates everything that we do. My invitation in this day, today's not a special feast of the baptism of the Lord or anything else, because like our own baptism, the ritual happens once, but the living of it happens every single day. And you and I can be reminded of that every time we reach for the tap, every time we step under a shower, every time we drink a glass of water. It begins in water. The blessings of our God, the mission of our God, the sending forth of our God, that electrified water, as Deacon Bill talked about, is shared with us every day, and you share it with those around you. Do it not because you're making supper. Do it because you see in your families the presence of God. And in water, we serve. In water, we create new life. In water, we make visible the power and the presence of our God. It all begins in water. And we hear in the coming weeks that Jesus, now having been baptized, goes out to proclaim the good news of the kingdom. Every time you use water, be reminded that in whatever you do today, in whatever you do for the rest of the week, you'll be proclaiming the good news of the kingdom in the ways that we love one another. I keep on coming back to that phrase. It's not just a matter of simply, well, this is what I do. I get up and I make breakfast and I go to work and no. This is what I do. I get up and I live baptism. I get up and I take the power that was given to me and I use it not only for my own good, but for those around me. Transform the events of every day into an experience of the presence of the kingdom. In this way, all will come to know that our God is present among us.